Okay, now we're going to look at the rules of dividing with decimals. You first need to understand what your divisor and your dividend are. So we know that in this particular problem, 4,131 10,000ths divided by 17. Our dividend, which is under the house, is here. Our divisor, which is outside of the house, is 17. So we are dividing, and let's write it that way. So dividend, divisor, we're essentially dividing a decimal by a whole number. So in this case, there's no need because your divisor cannot have a decimal. If it did, you would have to take extra steps to make sure your divisor does not have a decimal. So we are simply going to divide like normal, but you have to understand that you place a decimal where you write the decimal. So you place the decimal straight up where you write your answer and rewrite the problem. So if our decimal's here, then we place our decimal right where it is when we write our problem in our quotient area. So now we divide like normal. I know that 17 cannot go into 0. Same thing I say in class. If I have 0 pieces, I cannot make groups of 17, not even one. 0 does not go into 4. If I have 4 pieces, I cannot make any groups of 17. But, oh, let me not forget this step. Okay, so after you establish that 17 can't go into 0, 17 can't go into 4, can 17 go into now 41? Yes, it can. It can go into 41 twice, I believe. So now it's time to DMSB, repeat. We've been dividing. Now it's time to multiply 17 times 2. 17 times 2 is 34. So now you need to bring down your 34. So we multiplied. Now it's time to subtract. 41 minus 34, well, let's take it by place value. I know I have to regroup. This will be 11 minus 4, which is 7. And this, since I've regrouped and added 10, this would be 3 minus 3, which is 0. So I subtracted. Now it's time to bring down my 3. How many times, because we're back to division because we repeated, how many times can 17 go into 73 now? 17 can go into 73 4 times, I believe. Now it's time to multiply. If I don't know what 17 times 4 is on the top of my head, I at least know how to multiply using standard algorithm, which I'm doing right here. 7 times 4 is 28, carry my 2. 4 times 1 is 4, add 2. That will give me 68. So that looks about right. So now that I've multiplied, I bring that down. Now it's time to subtract. 13 minus 8 is 5. With regrouping, this becomes a 6, and 6 minus 6 is 0. So I've subtracted. Now it's time to bring down. I bring down my 1. So now I have to go back, repeat, and go back to divide. 17 can go into 51 3 times, I believe. So I'm going to put my 3 directly above the number we brought down. Let's use standard algorithm for 17 times 3 to make sure our multiplication step is correct. 3 times 7, 21, carry my 2. That will give me 51 exactly. So yes, 51 or 17 can go into 51 3 times. If I want to finish my steps, I multiply. That means, which we did using standard algorithm. Now I subtract, leaving me with 0. I have reached a remainder of 0 and there's nothing else for me to bring down, so I am officially done with my problem. So my quotient, or my answer, is 243 10,000ths. My quotient, or my answer, is 243 10,000ths. Now we looked at dividing by a whole number, dividing a decimal by a whole number. What would this look like if we divided a decimal by another decimal? So you still have 4,131 10,000ths divided by 1700ths. This is still my dividend, which means it's under the house. Let me put it under the house. This is still my divisor, which means it's outside of the house. Now, I mentioned in the earlier problem that your divisor cannot have a decimal, so you have to move the divisor decimal so it is a whole number. This is why in the first video we were looking at moving or multiplying by powers of 10 and how the decimal moved. So essentially, my divisor and my dividend have to move the decimal twice to make 1700ths a whole number, and twice to the right, which means essentially I'm multiplying by 100. But if you do this the right way on both sides, you won't have to always multiply by the powers of 10. So moving to make a whole number of 17 means that I have to rewrite my problem. And when I rewrite my problem, it's going to become 17 divided by, decimal stops behind the 1 and before the 3, 41.3100ths. Now you're still going to place the decimal straight up where you write the answer in the quotient area, but then it's time to divide like normal. So 17 doesn't go into 4. You can't make groups of 17 out of 4 pieces. 17 does go into 41. So let's see. It's going into 41 twice. Because 17 times 2 is 34. 17 times 3 is 51. So that's too high, so it goes in twice. We're still dividing like normal, so I'm still using my DMSB, divide, multiply, subtract, repeat, subtract, bring down, repeat. So we divided, now we multiplied. Let me write my 34. Now we subtract. 11 minus 4 is 7. With regrouping, this becomes a 3. So that's 0. Now I bring down my 3. So now I have 73 because we're repeating, excuse me, and we are back at dividing. So 73 divided by 17 is going to be 4, and we've established 17 times 4 is 68. So now we multiply. 4 times 17 is 68. My pencil's not writing so great, I need to sharpen it. 73 minus 68 is carry the 1. 13 minus 8 is 5. With regrouping, 7 becomes 6. So 6 minus 6 is 0. Now I'm at the bring down stage where I'm bringing down my 1. So now I have 51 divided by 17. Well, I see right here that is 3. So I place my 3 above the 1 that I brought down. Now I multiply. 3 times 17 is 51. Now I subtract. 51 minus 51 is 0. So my quotient, or my answer, is right here. My quotient is 2.43. So 4,131 10 thousandths divided by 17 hundredths is going to equal a quotient of 2.43. You can always take 2.43 and multiply it. 2.43 are 2 and 43 hundredths, and multiply it by 17 hundredths to make sure your answer is correct and that you get this dividend of 4,131 10 thousandths.